From the director of District 9 comes the story about a childlike robot that dares to challenge our minds and our hearts about what it really means to be alive. Johnny 5? Wait, that's not right. The story about a corporation trying to take the human element out of the police force with the creation of RoboCop? Wait, really? Nope. Come on. There, that's it. The story about forget it.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Reviewing the Nerds. I'm Vincent.
And I am Mike. And today we are reviewing CHAPPiE.
We all know Neill Blomkamp's a big hit, District 9, that came out some years ago. And then he followed that up with Elysium, which didn't do it all as well as District 9.
Have you seen both of those films? Are you familiar with them?
I've seen District 9 and I have seen most of Elysium. I'm not going to lie, I've not seen all of Elysium. I've seen a lot of it.
I have seen both films.
And it was Elysium as bad as the critics made it out to be.
It was not that great. It was kind of forgettable. It wasn't bad or anything. It was just okay. District 9 was fantastic, and his allegory for how people live over there was really well done. But he tries to repeat that every movie he does, and it's been a step down in quality every time.
Yeah.
So.
And now it's been recently announced that he will be the director of the new Aliens film, which was thankfully got off the ground because Sigourney Weaver was in this film, and the two got together and talked, and he convinced her to do a new one with him at the helm. So, a lot of pressure on his shoulders right now.
So this is Neill Blomkamp's third outing, covering pretty much the same topics in the same locations. This is written and directed by him and his wife, Terry Tatchell. And it's based on a short film he did called Tetra Vol. And actually, in the movie, the name of the weapons company that Dion works at is called Tetravol, which is a reference to that short film. And that short film was about a police robot that was trying to integrate into society. And he did another short film called Timpbot, which also dealt with the same type of subject matter. So this should just tell you right now that Blomkamp likes to repeat himself a lot. He likes to, there's a lot of themes that he likes to repeat, and location, of course. Johannesburg, South Africa is a huge part, obviously, of his life, and he puts in all his movies.
Story synopsis. Basically, we find ourselves in Johannesburg, South Africa, not too far in the future, I think maybe even like 5 years. Basically, the crime in the city has gone so incredibly out of control that the police force can't handle it. So Tetravol Weapons Company has a young inventor named Dion design these automated police robots that go out and can take out the criminals. And, they're made of titanium and they're damn near indestructible. And basically the crime rate drops dramatically and Tetravol becomes this big weapons factory and they become rich. And fortunately things start going a little weird. We have one character played by Hugh Jackman who...
Vincent.
Yeah.
Vincent, you douchebag! Alright.
I want to build big robots. Anyway, so Vincent, the Hugh Jackman's character, has basically his own police robot, or I would call it more of a military robot. It's basically a tank with legs. It's got tons of firepower.
Think RoboCop, big monster.
Yeah,
robot.
It is very similar to the Ed 219 from the RoboCop franchise. So Vincent, his robot isn't getting off the ground because Dion's police bots, they're doing a hell of a lot better. But Dion has a secret project that he's been dying to finish where he actually invents full-blown artificial intelligence, machine that can think just like a human. Unfortunately, when he tries to test it out, he is stopped by a group of criminals, two of them named Ninja and Yolandi, who are played by the musicians Di Antwood. And them and their cohort, a guy named America, they kidnap Dion and have him take the robot, and they want to use it for a bank robbery because they owe the biggest criminal in town, like, what? How much money was it? 20?
It was like $20 million.
$20 million. Their plan is to use this police robot reprogrammed so they could rob a bank or something. Unfortunately, he has the artificial intelligent robot, which they turn on, and they decide to name it CHAPPiE because he's a good chap, good chappie. Now, fortunately, things go really bad there for the criminals because, CHAPPiE isn't a fully programmed robot. In fact, when they turn him on, he's almost like a child. He has to learn everything. The movie goes forward. Yolandi, she kind of becomes the mother character, whereas Ninja, her boyfriend, he is just like straight up, no, we're going to use this robot to steal the bank. And he just teaches Chappie the robot how to be like, beat people up, how to use guns, how to use weapons and stuff like that.
There's definitely a theme of nurture versus nature.
Exactly, yeah. Like Ninja wants to show him how nasty the world is. Yolandi wants to show him like the good stuff in the world. And Dion, the creator, he just wants to improve his creative abilities. Unfortunately, things get really bad towards the end when Vincent basically sets up Dion to make him look like he's trying to bring the company down, and he's given permission to use his huge army robot called the Moose, and he goes to take out Dion, the criminals, and Chappie. I have a lot of issues with the ending. All I'll say is smiles all around for the characters.
I think that Blomkamp had some really, really good intentions and concepts that he put into this, but the problem is he's attacking a subject matter that's been handled many, many, many times before in a lot of other films.
Like, even Hugh Jackman's character piloting this giant moose robot is a bit funny because Jackman already did a movie touching on that in Real Steel. Chappie has a hard time escaping from some of the cliches and tropes that come with the genre. And then the attempts that it does make to be fresh aren't usually very successful.
It's like Short Circuit.
Yeah, this movie's got a lot of comparisons to Short Circuit, the 80s movie, where Short Circuit was a, fun, lighthearted comedy about a robot who's now sentient, who knows he's alive. This is more very serious and harsh in a lot of ways.
Hard R.
Yeah, hard. Yeah, along with the other Neill Blomkamp movies, like they're like it doesn't have as much brutal violence, but the moments where the violence is going on gets brutal. Like, it's mostly towards the end. But yeah, I mean, like seriously, a lot of people comparing to that. Like, it's a rated R Short Circuit.
Charlton Copley did such a great job as Chappie. I mean, he was able to emote so much through that motion capture performance.
Yeah, well, the guy who played
Casting the right actor in the role of Chappie was essential in this, and Copley really nails it.
Who has worked with Blomkamp in both the other films.
Yeah.
He was the main character in District 9. He was also the villain in Elysium.
Yeah, and Charlton Copley, he's definitely a great actor. I like him a lot. I think he's very cool.
And he and the director, they both came from South Africa, and that's how they knew each other. I think they actually
cool.
knew each other from when they were young. Yeah, I think he was actually also in a couple of his short films.
I'm not downing it at this point, considering he's basically been in everything else. But yeah, no, I like Chappie a lot. I mean, if we're going to compare him to Johnny Five from Short Circuit, Johnny Five, he starts out his personality develops very quickly, where he's just like very curious about everything and kind of childlike. With Chappie, they take it even a step. When they first turn Chappie on, he's almost like a little scared puppy. Like, he hides behind a wall. He doesn't know how to interpret things, because remember, it's like just being born, but with like a fully developed body almost.
They use these ears a lot for his emotion.
Yeah, they have like these ears on the, like, they're supposed to be antennae, but they basically look like ears, and they move around to emote, and he has these bars on his face and lower chin to like also emote emotion, which I like. They're not like, he doesn't have full range of like emotion like Data from Star Trek has. Remember, he's still metal. He was designed to be a combat robot for the police. But they have these little things that show the emotion and the acting. Just the way, like, he was really like, oh, I don't know, can I touch this? Like, he's like very childlike and like unsure and afraid. I really believe the times in the movies where Chappie was afraid of stuff, and the way he like, he's very upbeat for most of the movie. Until the point in the movie where death is explained to him, and what death is, and he starts to get really afraid and anxious all the time, and he's doing whatever he can to avoid it, to extend his life, because the robot body that Dion uses for this first artificially intelligent robot is actually one that was supposed to be destroyed. It was supposed to be demolished because it got hit by an RPG in the chest, and its battery is melted to its chassis, and so they can't recharge the battery. So that's why he's only got like 5 days to live. So I really liked the development. I thought Charlton Copley did a great job with the motion capture. I thought like the way he talked, and like I said in the beginning, very childlike and very like a total lack of experience of how the world is. And I was very excited about certain things, and very like want to be like everybody else, like, because like the criminals, they're very gangster-like, and like Antwood, they didn't get all like fake tatted up for the movie. That's how they really look in real life. So like he's trying to be just like that. Like there's one moment where Ninja, he's like trying to, Chappie, you gotta be cool, man. You gotta look how I walk, I'm cool. And Chappie's like getting right in there.
Charlton Copley, I really enjoyed his performance as well, and I think he's the saving grace of the movie. I think he's the best thing about it. he's surrounded, unfortunately, by things I don't think are so hot. And one of those things is that, I don't know, for whatever reason, the director thought, hey, it'd be a great idea, let's build a whole story around Die Antwoord.
Antwoord? I was saying Antwoord, my bad.
Even to the point where he names the characters the actual names of the people. Like Ninja is the name of the guy from the band, and Yolandi is the name of the girl from the band.
I will say this, I watching the movie, I didn't know that was their real names, so for me, as a moviegoer who didn't have this pre-knowledge, that didn't affect it for me. I knew that they were celebrities from that part of South Africa, I already knew that. So it made it more believable that knowing that they were that's how they are in real life. I mean, yes, I don't actually believe that these two people in real life, while they're like, we got a show on Saturday, but on Friday we're robbing the bank next door. No, we're not. I'm just saying, for me, that didn't really affect it because without having that knowledge. But I do believe, I know you didn't like them, but I think it made it a little, for me, it was a little more realistic because I believed like the way they were acting, like this is how he kind of is in real life, his personality type.
I don't know about realistic. To me, they were underdeveloped live-action cartoons. Realism is built upon dimensions and layers, and there isn't any with either of these characters. It just felt like they were being played up to promote themselves as badass musicians. It feels very fan service to Die Antwoord, and it took me out of the movie at times. I mean, it was either intentional for that reason, or even worse, it was just lazy writing and direction on Blomkamp's part.
Their storyline in general, like, I respect the whole theme of nature versus nurture, and how Dion was kind of like God to Chappie. Like, there is definitely a lot of themes and symbolism going on.
Yeah, there's that great moment where Chappie flat out asked Dion's like, why did you make me to die, maker? Why did you? And it's really like a heartfelt moment.
Well, Ninja and Yolandi storyline, I just thought was pretty weak. I like the theme of it, but their entrance into the story is so contrived and so plotted. It's like, oh, they just conveniently have this $20 million bounty that they have to pay off, and they just so happen to kidnap Dion right when Dion's decided to put the robot in the back of the van, right when he's decided to put AI into it. He installs this AI into Chappie, and then they let him go, which doesn't make any sense. Why would you let him go? Why wouldn't you keep him there until the heist was done? Because you're taking a chance letting him go. What if you inform the authorities? Or what if
they're just like, they kidnap him and they're like, okay, but we don't want you screwing up. We're going to make him a gangster. And Dion wants to like, no, I want to make him creative and smart, and they let him go home for the night. It's like, no, just tie... Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Why would you let him go?
I think it's just, for the point of the story, it's just to allow Ninja Yolandi in America to make Chappie more gangster, because Dion comes back the next day, he's like, yeah, shit, motherfucker, and it's like this robot trying to act gangster, and Dion's like, what did you do to him?
Now, see, that's what we call bad writing. Like when you have a plotted goal, like you're like, I want this to happen in this movie, and then you very, very, like, contrivedly figure out a way to do that. Like, okay, they're going to let him go just because they're going to let him go. And then for him to return, and keep coming back as though he's part of the family. It's like, okay, these people kidnapped you at gunpoint, and they stole your robot. He's coming back with toys and stuff like that. Like, oh, I'm here to train Chappie. It's like what are you kidding me? And that's a whole other problem I didn't get into, is that I don't believe for a second that Yolandi would be this nurturing, motherly figure to Chappie, because she starts off in the movie as a ruthless, cold-blooded bitch. I mean, like, when they kidnap Dion, Ninja has a gun to his head, like, yo, motherfucker, you're gonna get this, and she's sitting there, like, looking at her nails, like, just shoot him, Ninja,
Yeah, that is the weird part, because, like, they're all criminals. They're all, like, people, like, when we first see the gang, they all got, like, Ninja's got, like, an assault rifle, I think, and maybe, it looked like an AR-15, I'm not sure. And I think Yolandi had like a MAC-10 submachine gun, and like they're all like running from the cops and blah blah, and like you're right, they kidnap Dion, and they're about to blow his brains out unless they give him a robot or like an on-off switch for the robots.
And she's a total psychopath about it. She's like, yeah, go ahead, Dion, go ahead, Ninja, just shoot him.
And then the second they turn on Chappie and he's all cute and like adorable robot, then she becomes this motherly figure. I don't mind if they provide a motherly figure for Chappie. I mean, it makes more sense. It allows him to like grow up as a human, even though of course he can like evolve in a matter of days. But like show a reason why she suddenly has become motherly. Like she can't just snap it like that. Yeah. Otherwise, like I kind of liked her. It's just that one snap moment that bugs the fuck out of me.
I guess, but it's just felt very, very plotty and forced.
Ninja's like full blown. This is what we're gonna do with Chappie. Ruthless killing robot machine. America's kind of like the middleman. America's like, yeah, we gotta get him to help program to rob the bank, but we gotta like do things, softly. Like America, like their
Yankee.
friend. Yankee?
His name's Yankee.
I could have sworn they called him America.
I think they call him America once or twice, but they call him Yankee apparently. That's what he's listed as on Wikipedia. I don't know.
Yankee Doodle Dandy. He's a level-headed one. He's with Ninja. He's like, this is what we have to get Chappie ready for, but he's very smart and level-headed on how they like. There's a few times he stops Ninja's like, wait, slow down, man. Hold on, let me take care of this. And he like is able to like do things better with Chappie than Ninja is, because Ninja is just like brutal, like do this, do that, do like where Yolandi is like the mothering type, and like so like America Yankee dude is like the middle man. And I liked how like you have the two extremes with Ninja and Yolandi, and we got America the middleman.
Out of nowhere, Ninja decides to abandon Chappie in this junkyard with a bunch of thugs. And it's like, why would he do that? You have this really expensive military robot that's going to stand out in a crowd, and you drop him off in an area where he can either be destroyed or recaptured. Yeah. And what if he leads the military or the police back to him? It makes no sense.
Yeah, the point of it, from Ninja's point of view, was to like have him some real-world experience so he sees how tough the world is, because he thinks like Dion and Yolandi are babying him, and he wants the robot to grow up so he can help rob a bank. That's what the whole point they stole the robot for. It's like Ninja staying on task as to what's important, because if they don't get this $20 million, the head crime guy in the city is going to hunt them down and like brutally murder them.
Conveniently, Hugh Jackman's character, Vincent, just so happens to be looking for Chappie, and they just so happen to release Chappie at this point he's looking for him, and this just provides them to move to a plot point where he retrieves this chip from Chappie so that he can hack into the police robots.
Yeah,
and it's
Lockhart
like,
key, right?
Yeah, Ninja being dumb enough to release Chappie in the world provided that opportunity for Vincent. It's like, this is really contrived storytelling. This is really convenient narrative. You have things happening very, very artificially to move the plot forward. It doesn't make any sense for the characters to be doing what they're doing. Their motivations don't make sense. It's very sloppy. All the stuff we're discussing, I don't know if anyone has noticed how little we've talked about Dion. Well, the reason is that all this is a huge distraction from Dion's character, which is the real relationship in the movie that I find most interesting. Because Ninja's relationship is really annoying. I don't really care about the relationship. Yolandi, you don't understand her motivations. But Dion, you understand his motivations. He created this thing. This is like, God to humans. He wants to guide him and to help him become the best he can be, but he's hardly ever on screen with them.
I actually kind of think it makes some sense. Go with me here. So Dion is basically God to Chappie. He's the maker. In fact, that's what he tells Chappie to call him. I'm your maker. And Chappie says, maker, And you only see him every once in a movie when Chappie has these like little issues that if you like a person in real life, you ask God like, why you let this happen? Why did this happen to me, God? Why is this going on? And I think that kind of works, because like you can't talk to God all the time. And even if you did, if God was literally right here, physical form, like he came down or he sent an angel, and you asked him, it's just like these little moments. So for Dion, I think that for me, looking back, that makes sense, because you can't talk to God all the time. You can't get all the answers all the time, and Dion has all the answers.
Okay, you have a really good point, which I'm not going to totally... I see what you're saying. Here's my problem then.
Okay.
Dave Patel as Dion is so much more damn likable than Ninja. Firstly, because Patel is actually an actor, and a good one. Ninja's a musician trying to play up his image of being a badass on screen. I can empathize with Patel, but the Ninja character is just a one-dimensional walking stereotype. He's just an uninteresting character to see Chappie matched with so often.
Ninja, I get this feeling that he was supposed to be this really cartoony character that you were supposed to sometimes laugh at, but I didn't find him funny. I found him really obnoxious, incredibly psychopathic and rude, and later in the movie you're supposed to believe he suddenly turns and becomes a better person, and I don't believe it for a second. And that's the same thing with Yolandi. Both Yolandi and Ninja are supposed to... She turns really fast, though. In the snap of a finger, she suddenly is a good person.
Well,
but he suddenly snaps at one point, and he suddenly is willing to, risk everything to save everybody, and I don't believe that for a single second.
There's this redemption moment in the movie where Ninja is basically distracting Vincent's moose tank robot and to let the others get away. Now, I admit, like I said, Ninja is one extreme, Yolandi's the other, where Ninja is just like, he's been so much of a dick throughout most of the movie. Like, when he has this redemption moment, you're like, do I care if he has this redemption moment? I'll give it that. I'm not, because the only thing that makes, he's not doing it for Chappie. He's not standing up to this giant killer robot for Chappie. He's not doing it for Dion. He's not even doing it for Chappie. He's doing it for Yolandi because, like, it gets lost in there. But Yolandi is like they are together. They are in a relationship. I don't know if they're married or they're just boyfriend and girlfriend. But she is the only thing he really does care about. He doesn't show it because like he's busy trying to steal banks. But so it makes sense that he would make time for her. He's not being a hero. He's just trying to save his girlfriend, the only person he really gives a damn about. So it's kind of like an empty redemption moment because he's not doing it to save everybody. He's doing it to save one person. So I'll give it that. He has that spark where, there is a good side to him. It's not a big side of him, but he does care about this woman. But once again, it's like the redemption moment's like, do I care that much? I cared very little.
So another issue with this movie is that so many of the characters are one-dimensional cardboard cutouts. They serve very specific roles. We already discussed how thematically nature, nurture, God. But then Hugh Jackman plays Vincent, who is just your stereotypical mustache-twirling villain, and to the point where he has absolutely no redeemable qualities. But the problem is that he's arguing the opposing philosophy to this movie, which is that you always need human beings in control. If you give control to machines, then you could be risking the end of humanity, possibly. And that's the philosophy that most of these films take. Terminator, any of them. You can name a whole bunch.
Yeah, and even his the Moose, the giant tank robot, it doesn't have an AI.
He controls it.
Yeah, it needs a pilot to control it via some weapon control sticks and a neural interlink helmet.
Which very conveniently is used to save some lives later. Another really forced plot point. But his character could represent an opposing philosophy to this movie, and you could make him interesting and even sympathetic.
Yeah.
And that's what a good script would do. But instead, they take the easy route, and they just make him absolutely despicable, and they really, really underutilize Hugh Jackman's talents as an actor. He doesn't have anything to play with. He hasn't anything to do except be just like a Batman cartoon villain. There's even a part where he is wearing, he's controlling the robot. He's like, as he shoots stuff.
He's really getting up. He is severely enjoying blowing people up with like high-powered machine guns, cannons, and rockets. It's ridiculous because like Mike is totally right. He could him mentioning the need for a human presence on the field instead of artificial intelligence is mentioned in the beginning. That's why he keeps pushing his version of a tactical robot. The only problem is, shortly after his whole motivation as a character is just for the fact that the local police force does not want to buy his robot. His whole motivation is just to get his robot to be the one that gets to go out in the field. The whole artificial intelligence bad is just like a briefly mentioned in the beginning, and then he drops it. His whole motivation is, I want my robot to be the big, cool robot that everyone's talking about, and I'm going to do whatever I have to, I'm going to get in everyone's fucking face, and I'm going to be... He could have been this sympathetic antagonist that he doesn't understand that Chappie is like this good-hearted creature that's evolving. He could have just seen Chappie as a threat to humankind. They really could have developed that aspect, but they didn't, and that is a big thing that bugs me, because then he's just...
one-dimensional.
One-dimensional, yeah. I mean...
And that's the problem with a lot of stuff in the script. A lot of things are very, very one-dimensional, and there's a lot of problems with it, and you can also blame direction for that. I mean, writing in direction, you gotta blame it. Yeah. Which is interesting, because you have District 9, which the entire protagonist, of that film, he starts off as basically Hugh Jackman's character. He's a real douchebag. He only sees things in black and white. And then they somehow make him so dimensional, and you believe his transformation by the end of the film. And they do a great job with that.
Yeah, and even by the end of District 9, he's still pretty flawed. I mean, there's still that scene at the end where he, half betrays the alien for a minute.
Well, then, though, he redeems himself.
Yes,
he's willing to die to save them.
Yeah.
That I believed. And he did a fantastic job. Neill Blomkamp, he's starting to come across as a one-trick pony. He could do one thing, and he can't appear to do anything else.
You don't want to do that, Neil, because that's what's happened to Michael Bay. You don't want to be like
Actually,
Michael Bay.
I was going to say, you might end up in the same boat with M. Night Shyamalan. M. Night Shyamalan, though, at least pooped out 2 good movies, okay? The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable, I thought were both good. But Neill Blomkamp, he's really just been in a progressive downward slide. I mean, Elysium was a big step down from District 9, and this is a big step down from Elysium.
Visuals in the movie, as with all Neill Blomkamp movies, tons of great special effects, usually, maybe not. Mike, what's your take on the special effects? Are they up to par with his previous films?
Yes, I mean, that's something that's always reliable in his films. You always know you're going to get good visual effects. The motion capture stuff with Sharlto Copley was really, really good, and it really enhanced his performance, and it did look really photorealistic. And even though Johannesburg is a location I'm getting tired with, I did think, though, that the cinematography was good. Visually, it looks really great, and you gotta give him credit for that. And I'm hoping that with Aliens, because it's going to be in that world, that he'll maybe change the landscape a little bit. Maybe
I hope so. If the movie's about the aliens' home world and they've enslaved the Ewoks from Star Wars, I'm gonna be fucking pissed.
Well, actually, I was more thinking about an alien ship crashing in Johannesburg, because then you're getting District 9 again.
And Prawn will step up to the alien and be like, "Yo, buddy, you can't park here. We got no more room. There was barely room for Matt Damon and Chappie. No vacancy, capiche?"
Yeah.
But I think that he's a very good visual storyteller. There's nothing wrong with that. The action is few and far between in this movie. It's definitely not a heavy action film, but when it does happen, it looks kind of cool. It's just that there's nothing in this film that you haven't seen in other movies. They don't really raise the bar for action.
Yeah, most of the action happened towards the end.
Yeah, and it's kind of stuff you've seen before, but it looks okay. It looks nice, I guess. Like, especially movies like RoboCop, and it's pretty much the same deal. You have a giant robot. You have a smaller robot fighting each other, and there's lots of blood and gore and explosions.
That bothered me a little bit, if you don't mind putting this in there. Like, because some of you guys remember we had that RoboCop reboot a year ago, and the robots in this one are very reminiscent. Like we mentioned earlier, the Moose looks a lot like the Ed 209 from RoboCop. I did sound stupid. That's why I always got the chicken style, like walker legs, and like the big, like bulbous body. Doesn't really have arms, just really kind of big gun cannon hands. I'll say this: the Moose can fly, so it's definitely got a aerial advantage over the Ed 209. But even like the smaller police robots, so like the CHAPPiE is like even like in the RoboCop reboot, we have these artificially intelligent police robots that are over in another country, you know, doing patrolling and all that, and they're very highly advanced, and like that. I can't say the similarity bothered me greatly.
There's some parallels, definitely.
Yeah, there's parallels. The designs are very different. Like the police robots here in CHAPPiE look very different from the police robots.
And they're actually
RoboCop
based
reboot.
On his short film.
Exactly. Yeah. So you know, they're reminiscent, but design-wise, they look very different. So it didn't. Seriously, if the ones in the RoboCop reboot also had like the antenna ears, that I would have been like, holy crap. But they don't. So yeah, it was minor irritants, but not a big one. The Moose, with the comparison to the Ed 209, a little bit more, because once again, it's the big one, it's the monster. But otherwise, I liked the robot designs. They were very realistic. Hell, I even noticed like on the back of CHAPPiE, he has like these rubber pads on his back for like his butt for I guess when he sits down or something.
Look no further than the critical response and also the box office for it for how it is, because it's a disappointment in both areas. It's not making the same money. District 9 also started off as a sleeper hit initially. I mean, it started off slowly making money and it kept raising its audience to the point where it just became a big hit.
Yeah.
This movie...
Academy Award nominations it got. Yeah.
Yeah, and Blomkamp is using his momentum here because Elysium, people were excited about that because that was the second movie after this great film and people were let down. So this movie, people were just a little less interested. And then this comes out and obviously it's been kind of a little bit of a dud. I mean, I'm not going to say, and I feel like I've been trashing the movie a little too much during this review, it's just because I know what Blomkamp is capable of. I know he's capable of doing better. But he's just not living up to his full potential, and because of that, I am a little critical. But I do think there are a lot of saving graces in this. Like we discussed, there's a lot of like little symbolism and philosophy that's kind of sprinkled in there that's smart, and it's clever in places. So I do think there's things about the film that are good. Obviously, Sharlto Copley is great, and let's just hope that Blomkamp learns from his mistakes and does better next time.
Yeah, it had a lot of problems. For me, the big thing about it was CHAPPiE. I thought he was a great character, where other characters, like we mentioned, didn't have complete development or they had fully worked out. CHAPPiE had so much development in the course of that film and so believable that it really helped me out a lot. for the shortcomings in the movie, which is, like I said, I liked it. I liked it as a movie. I didn't think it was a great movie, but I still liked it. You know, because of some of the shortcomings I brought down. The biggest shortcoming is, and Mike's pulling me back from giving it away, and I understand that, is the end of the movie. It was too happy. It was far too happy.
Things worked out way too easily.
Yeah, I mean, it continues the thing of evolution through artificial intelligence and robots for humanity, but it's too
weird.
Yeah, you're too damn good at that point. No, they're like what Chappie pulls off at the end is too much, and he doesn't. How can I say this? Like once, okay, twice, no.
I mean, the idea also is that Dion is like God. He created Chappie. Chappie creates something else.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, God makes man, man makes machine. This is now the cycle of that, where machine now makes something else. So it's a philosophy. It's symbolism, but it's the way they portray it in the film. It's outlandishly impossible the way he does it.
Yeah, I encourage people to go check it out. It's future technology, but not too far in the future. It's realistic and believable that this is what we'll have in years to come. I don't know if we're going to have a fully developed artificial intelligence in about 5 years. I think we're still far away from that. And in fact, to be honest, I don't even know if I want to see that. Because unless it's Johnny 5, I don't want to see that thing coming.
If he was hired to do Alien right after doing District 9, I would have been really excited because I thought he did such a great job with that movie. But now that he's done Elysium and Chappie, and those movies weren't quite up to that standard, I have some concerns and some reservations, but at the same time I know that he's capable of doing great things. We saw that in District 9. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
He's had his problems with Elysium and Chappie, the problems in Chappie, but he convinced Sigourney Weaver to come back to a role that she hasn't done in, 15, 20 years? If he could convince Sigourney Weaver to come back and do it, then it makes me hopeful that the two of them are on the same page, that he's going to listen to her. As the continued protagonist of the Aliens films, that he's going to listen to Sigourney Weaver and tell him, if we're going to do this together, this is what we need to do. And if they're on board, if they're on the same page, then I'm hopeful.
Well, the director of Alien 4 also convinced her to come back, too. You saw how that turned out.
I don't know what you're talking about, Michael. Everybody, hope you liked the video. If you did, click like. If you didn't, well, you can click dislike if you want, but we prefer if you leave it in the comments. Leave something in the comments. Tell us what you think, what you agree with us on, what you disagree with us on. If you really liked it, click share. Help spread our nerd word here. And if you really liked us, then subscribe. We'd like to keep making these more videos, and the more people we get to subscribe to us, the more we'll keep making this stuff, because we really do enjoy it. But for now, once again, I'm Vincent.
And I'm Mike.
We'll see you next time on Review the Nerds. Chappie.
Chappie.
Motherfucker.